Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 109, recording on Sunday, June 12th, 2022. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And a lot to talk about this week. Today was the Microsoft and Bethesda showcase. We'll be talking about the Summer Game Fest showcase. Is that the official term for these showcases? Can we not come up with something better? We're going to get into Day of the Devs a little bit, Devolver Digital, and maybe some of the other shows if we have time. It's already quite late in the evening, so we'll see what happens. Maybe push some stuff to next week. But this is the new de facto replacement E3 experience. We got the Sony State of Play previously. We now get it in chunks of video, trying to piece it all together, make our way through everything. How do you guys feel about this new Summer Game Fest experience? I guess Jeff Keighley's trying to kind of brand this new thing after this year. I don't know if that's going to take flight as much as he might want it to. We'll talk about that showcase. But are you guys happy with the state of things? Or do you miss and yearn for the old E3?
I think I heard, isn't E3 coming back next year? So that like E3 and Summer Game Fest are going to have to compete essentially or something. I thought I heard that. I could be wrong though. But I mean, we've kind of talked about this the last couple of years. Like it's cool to be able to just have so much stuff to choose from. It's an exciting time of year, but like it's a lot. Like there's so many different events to the point where I kept discovering new ones that I didn't know were happening. And I was like, oh wait, what? This is happening too. So, yeah, I don't know if we'll get into all the smaller ones this week, but there's a lot to take in if you're looking for stuff.
And the stuff we're for sure going to focus on: Starfield, Diablo 4, Last of Us Remake, and is there another huge one that I may be missing out on here?
Redfall, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably the next biggest. So we'll definitely touch on those. I don't know if we'll get to everything, especially some of the smaller announcements. Huck, anything in general to add before we get into the Microsoft show?
I just want to say that the thing I do miss about the E3 experience is that E3 forced developers to make a demo that they wanted to show to press and like look impressive. Whereas I feel in this format, although I appreciate the digital nature of it and being able to like see everything pretty easily, I feel like some of the developers are kind of cutting corners on what they're submitting to be shown in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, like you're saying that because there's no show floor kind of thing.
That's right, yeah.
It doesn't have to be like a polished gameplay demo necessarily. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so we don't know who's playing this stuff. I don't know if there's press, the equivalent of the behind closed doors meetings that used to happen at E3, and if people are playing demos. I haven't seen any follow-up on anything like that, so I think that's a good point, Huck. There was a tangible aspect to previous E3s that aren't quite there anymore. So let's start with the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. One thing that I want to focus on or touch on quickly is they shifted the approach and said everything that they're going to show, aside from one major announcement, I think, will be playable in the next 12 months, which to me is mimicking a bit to what Nintendo does. They don't like to showcase stuff too far in advance. So everything we saw should be out within a year. I doubt that will be the case, but I kind of like that. I appreciate that to some degree. I'm not that into hype and announcements just to kind of bloat a show and to have people talking about it and speculating. I do appreciate this new way of doing shows.
Yeah, I guess like I feel like that's kind of where the industry already is at for the most part. You know, people are really afraid to showcase something too far ahead of time and get, raked across the coals, or like, show something that looks bad and then they have to play catch up for a year to make people gain faith in the game again. So I don't know. In a way, it's like I feel like it's Microsoft being like, no, like this is amazing because this is all stuff you're going to get to play soon. But really, it's just an excuse to not have to show stuff that's not really ready. But but it's fine. Like, it does feel like it's still a little light in terms of what's coming over the next 12 months, but what can you do?
Yeah, I agree. So they started the show with Redfall, which had been, I think, was shown last year, previously for sure. I was aware of this game, developed by Arcane Austin. Now, they said the developers of Dishonored and Prey. Now, Arcane also did Deathloop. Now,
That was Leon, though.
Right. But I thought Dishonored, is it just the sequel to Dishonored, which was Austin? And I thought they were joint productions between the Arcane studios. I didn't know if it was because Deathloop is currently a PlayStation exclusive, but I mean, the only reason I bring it up is because Redfall felt a lot like Deathloop in terms of kind of systems-driven design where, there was the chain lightning and things that are affecting groups of enemies and interacting with other systems. When I first saw it, I wasn't sure if it was more of a Left 4 Dead, but as the trailer progressed, to me, it presents more as a Borderlands with vampires with like an open world campaign, but featuring co-op gameplay. So maybe a bit in the middle, but to me leans, when they said it's an open world campaign that's playable as co-op as well, I was getting Borderlands vibe. The first section where they showed the kind of attic hunting vampires, I thought that looked quite bad. And I was very surprised they were opening the show with that. But I will say, as it progressed and got to the outdoors and was showing the different classes and powers that were available in the game, I got on board a little bit more. So I wouldn't say I'm super hyped for this game, but the more I saw of it, the more I liked it.
I liked it. I thought it was really long, though. Like, I thought they showed a lot of stuff. And I must say that before this, I had zero interest in Redfall. I didn't even really think I did. Do we even see a gameplay, or was it all just CG up to this point?
I believe it was just a cinematic trailer last time we saw it.
Yeah, so I didn't really have any idea what the game was about. And then this actually intrigued me a bit. I was actually more interested in it watching this. I thought it looked pretty fun. I like that there's like a reason for doing it. It's not just like go kill everything type gameplay. There seems to be a purpose to it. You're trying to like cleanse the city, I guess. But overall, it looked like there was kind of neat gameplay things, neat puzzle elements, and from what I remember, though I've watched so much stuff, I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly. But it's definitely something that stuck in my mind more than what they showed before.
Yeah, it's weird. The thing that actually had me the most interested, or I went for like kind of a level up in interest, was when they showed the skill tree in the menus. I was thinking, this looks okay, but the polish of the skill tree, I kind of extrapolated what kind of gameplay you'd be doing there and the powers, and I definitely also got intrigued by the game. And the art style grew on me. I liked the lighting in the intro, but as it got outdoors, I thought the art style got more and more impressive, and there were some landmarks and ideas within the town that I enjoyed, which was the same for Deathloop. Like, the more I played the different areas in Deathloop, I grew to appreciate the art design more and more.
Yeah, I mean, same for me, what you guys are saying. I really had not that much interest in the game previously. Now I'm like, oh, I actually am kind of interested in it. I mean, visually, I don't think it was blowing me away, but the co-op aspect obviously looks fun. It reminded me a little bit of like even like The Last of Us or something. Like just it had a very post-apocalyptic feel, but with vampires. So, I mean, that seemed like it. Story-wise, that could be. There's some potential there. So I was kind of digging it.
It also seemed much more serious than I thought it was going to go for. I thought they were going to do some sort of like comedic vampire thing just from the previous CG trailers that they had. I don't know why I had that impression exactly, but I appreciate the different tone that this gameplay trailer showed.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it felt like an Arcane game to me. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not that crazy about their gameplay, but after Deathloop, I'm much more willing to give this game a chance. If they're, I'm assuming, sharing some systems and ideas. I don't know if that's true. Next, won't say too much about this, but Hollow Knight Silksong coming day one to Game Pass. Did any of us beat Hollow Knight?
Nope.
I keep meaning to. I want to go back to it. I'm sure lots of people are excited for this game, but we've heard about it for quite some time. All this really was saying it was going to be on Game Pass day one.
I feel like it is a big deal, though. Like, I swear, every Nintendo Direct, if you look in the chat, all you see are people saying, Hollow Knight, Hollow Knight, Hollow Knight, when's it coming, when's it coming? So the fact that Xbox was the ones to come in and be like, hey, here's the new trailer, it's coming to Game Pass, like, that's not nothing. Like, a lot of people are really excited for this game, and I'm looking forward to it too, but I do have to beat the first one.
I have to agree with you. It's not nothing. Okay, next. The surprise game, certainly of the Xbox showcase for me, High on Life, and I can't believe this hasn't been done before. The idea of the weapons being characters. You know, we talk about in movies, the idea of the location being a character and all that kind of stuff, and it drives me crazy. I can't believe the closest thing I can think of was the Darkness games, where your tentacles, and those were extensions of you and kind of possessing you, I think, kind of characters. I thought of Oddworld Stranger, or I think that's what it's called, or Stranger's Wrath, where it had like creatures embedded in the ammunition for weapons. But this is the weapons talk to you and have jokes. And it's such a good opportunity. You're staring right at this weapon in front of you to have it talk. Like, this is amazing. How has no one thought of this before? And the designs look amazing. It's from one of the creators of Rick and Morty, which I still haven't watched. It's a console launch exclusive. I love the art style. I knew nothing of this game, and I think it was my favorite game of the entire Xbox show.
Yeah, one of my favorites as well. And obviously, I'm a big Rick and Morty fan. I have not played that other VR game they did, Trover Saves the Universe, although I've bought it twice now. So I really need to actually play it. But
how sad is that?
Yep, that's where we're at. But
that is VR perfectly summarized.
But yeah, you know what's weird though? There was one other game I saw at one of the other shows. It was kind of like a Portal style puzzle game. I think it's called the Entropy Center. I don't know if you saw this one, Huck. I think it also had a gun that had like a face on it that kind of talked to you. Like, it wasn't like as over the top crazy as this one, but strangely, I think it did have this.
Yeah, I could see like an AI being embedded on
I think that's what it was.
I think there might have been Halo stuff potentially where Cortana popped up.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I'm not sure, but this is such a good idea.
The only thing I could think of for me that's kind of comparable is like in God of War, when you have the head that's kind of talking to you. Now, it's not a weapon, but it kind of provides that comedic relief from a thing that's not involved in the combat, so to speak, not like an extra character.
If people watching or listening can think of similar type games or games that have had similar ideas, let us know in the comments, because I feel like there's a lot of cool ideas that you could take that idea and extrapolate it. And of course, I thought of Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the gun and the bullets. I think there was some ideas like that in the one Oddworld game as well. But looks awesome. Art style's cool. Cannot wait for this game. Next, I'm just going to skip over this one. Like, all Riot games coming to Game Pass. I don't think...
I would say that's a pretty big deal. Like, a lot of people play League and, you know, that Team Fight Tactics game and Valorant. Like, that's a lot of content.
I don't disagree, but I assume for us three, this is basically a drop in a bucket type announcement. But I agree with what Huck said. A lot of people may care about this.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I thought when they initially were announcing it, I thought that meant they were coming to consoles, but I don't think they are. I think it's just on PC and mobile.
That I don't know. I got the sense it was on console.
I don't think so, because at the end it flashed a little title card, and I think it only said PC for most of them. But
I almost get the sense like Riot Games fans use Riot Games portals and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if it's as big of a deal as we might be making it out to be. Well,
the only other element is that, like, these games are free to play, but on Game Pass apparently it has all the characters unlocked and stuff, which is stuff normally you'd have to pay for. So that's, you know, that's a little bit of something.
And also, like, people who don't play these games like us know of these games. So the fact that they are now on Game Pass would give them extra audience that they may not have. And I think this, bundled with 2 other announcements that will come later, are like pretty huge deals as a whole for Microsoft to get and, you know, have that in their library now of, you know, things to hold against the other consoles.
Next, I'm going to defer to Huck because he loves the original of this series.
That I do.
A Plague Tale Requiem coming in 2022. What did you think of the new footage? It didn't feel that to me.
I thought it looked great. It didn't look that different. I mean, it looked beautiful. I thought it looked like there was more stealth options, like when they showed her kind of like climbing under the table and having that sort of like under the table perspective. I don't think there was anything like that in the original game. And it also looked like there was more combat options. Like I believe in the first one, you only got like a few things. I think you could throw a rock and you could throw that slingshot thing, but I don't think you could use a crossbow. And it looked like maybe there was some other combat options. And I'm wondering now, like when I saw this trailer, I'm like, are they setting her up to be almost like a Joan of Arc character for like the next game, where it's now going to progress where she's actually doing combat and like fighting against something? I'm kind of wondering if they have even a longer term plan for this kind of like story arc than just the like fighting rats type gameplay and stealth mechanics.
Yeah, I still would like to check out the original. Perhaps will at some point. I think it's an easy platinum, so we'll look into it. Next, Forza Motorsport. Just showcasing some new stuff for the next like simulation Forza game. Really talking about time of day and weather like anyone gives a shit. Like what? I've never seen someone focus on something in a game that is so like uninteresting. This isn't the first game that's done time of day and weather in a racing game, first of all, let alone any game. And there just was not a lot of meat on this bone, and it felt like they were really stretching out what they had. I think these games look great. I personally think it graphically looks better than Gran Turismo, but I feel like that's a preference thing, and I kind of prefer these games. But I guess the only other interesting thing to me with this game was it seems like they're rebranding it without a number, where all the other Forzas had a number at the end. So
yeah, it seems, you know what I bet they're doing? I bet they're going live service.
Yeah,
and this baby's just going to exist.
It's going to go forever. I was about to say the exact same thing.
Which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, they didn't officially announce that, but it looks good. It looks like another Forza game, but way too long for what they showed. And as a result, we've talked about it way too long. Moving on. Also, very quickly, Flight Simulator 40th anniversary, some helicopters and prop plane stuff coming, and a Halo expansion, which maybe is neat, but I do not give a poo-poo about this either. Do you guys have anything to say about it?
No. I mean, the Pelican is just a weird thing because it's like a simulator game. Like, how do you know what the Pelican's supposed to fly like? It's just weird. But
you can go to space.
I will say, it did make me think I should try this game in VR at some point. It is available, right? Like on PC to play in VR?
I think so.
So I think it would be a different experience in VR. And much like everything with VR, I will think about it, want to do it, and never do it. Next, Overwatch 2 coming in October. I'm not a huge Overwatch fan. I've tried it. I love the art style, as I do with most Blizzard things. We'll get to that with Diablo 4. But some new characters. I don't know who's new and who isn't. My only note here is the Junker King.
Junker Queen, I think.
Was it? I thought it was King.
I think it's Queen. That's what it says on IGN. That's kind of what I remember, but...
Oh, okay.
But the thing that was weird there is they said, "Oh, meet the new character," but then there were like 3 or 4 characters they showed, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, are they just part of the story, or are they all new characters?
Oh, sorry, that's the character that was featured?
Just on IGN, it says, we met Overwatch's newest character, the Junker Queen.
Yeah, that's, I think, the character featured, but then it showed, I think I'm seeing something about the Junk King, who I think might be a pre-existing character and this is like a counter. I don't know. I know nothing about Overwatch, so I thought when the one character came down from the ceiling, it said that, and I only noticed it because it says the Junker Queen sets up for her fight with Junk King Howl. So I think it's two things. I don't know. I don't know much about Overwatch, but I'm sure people are excited about this. Do you guys have anything you want to add about it?
Just that, was the first game free to play?
It wasn't. I don't know if it is now, but definitely initially you had to buy it.
Yeah, I think it eventually moved to free to play, but do not quote me on it.
So, I mean, that's the really only interesting thing, that it's, a pretty big game.
I just want to say, like, we're going to talk about what stuff's the acquisitions of Microsoft and what becomes exclusive. This is the only one that I noticed no mention of exclusivity. It was a bit nebulous. Does anyone know if it is coming to other consoles?
I did not look.
I don't know.
Because there are definitely some other ones that they are saying are exclusive at this point. So this was the only one that I had questions about. Okay.
It looks like it is not. It looks like it's going to be on PlayStation and Switch as well.
Okay. Interesting. Up next, Ara History Untold, which is a strategy simulation game where it seems like you can kind of rewrite history or do different things or interpretations of history. PC Game Pass only. That's my only note for this. It's not on consoles. Definitely not a needle mover for me. Anyone have anything to say, or can we move on?
No, they didn't even show anything. It was just a CG trailer thing.
Yep. More conceptual about what the game is. I'm going to blow through some of the next ones. Elder Scrolls Online, High Isle, Fallout 76, The Pit, Forza Horizon 5, Hot Wheels DLC, much like Horizon 4, which I think was a popular DLC. So I guess if you're into that, that's interesting. Lastly, console launch exclusive for Ark 2, featuring a strange Vin Diesel on a dinosaur that we had seen before. I'm having flashbacks to last year, Huck talking about the animation just being completely lackluster in that CG movie for Ark 2. My only thought on this is I've heard of Ark. It's a game that's everywhere. I have yet to meet a person in my life that plays Ark.
I have played Ark.
Oh, there you go.
Everyone I've talked to about it that's tried it says it is not good. So
that's what I said.
Okay. All right. Suspicions confirmed.
It's one of those games like The Forest, where like I don't know anyone that's played it, or that with The Forest I don't know a single person that has played it. But it is always in like the top selling lists somehow, like every month. Like The Forest has probably sold like 40 million copies, totally under the radar, and probably the same with Ark, just because it has dinosaurs, and The Forest just has like a very intriguing cover icon that everyone's like, oh, what's this? And it's survival. Okay, I'll give it a try.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's just weird. I'm not saying that people don't play it. I'm sure they do. They're making a sequel, lots of money going into it, and it's just weird that there's other games I don't play, but I run into people all the time that play it, or, my friends' kids, whoever, they play these games I don't play. So this is the only one that is a mystery to me. Next, I'm going to be looking at Sean for this one. A game we've heard about before, Scorn. I thought it looked fantastic. I'm really into Scorn and excited for it. Seeing some actual first-person gameplay, some weapons. Sean, you're the alien guy. Your favorite movie of all time. What are you thinking about Scorn?
Yeah, it looks good. I was excited that it's coming to Game Pass this year, October 21st. They have a date, so that's exciting. I don't know. I don't have too much more to add. I just thought the imagery was pretty disgusting and creepy, and that's kind of what I was looking for.
I know we just saw Crimes of the Future, but it felt like a bit of a hybrid between Giger and Cronenberg stuff to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Huck, anything to add on Scorn? You excited?
It just looked like it was visually just like Sean said, just gross. Like I just didn't want any of it. Like that's just too over the top for me. Like I understand the like totally over the top aspects of it and the like, I don't know, flesh, like raw flesh everywhere. Like, it's just not for me. Like, I will not be checking this game out. I like Aliens, or Alien and Aliens, but like this is too much. I don't think I can handle a whole game of like flesh eating, flesh things you push flesh into with other flesh things, and that's just too much.
Sean, I feel like such a dummy. What's the line from Videodrome?
The long live the new flesh.
Yeah, long live the new flesh. I'm into the flesh and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, you're big time into it these days.
I thought it looked awesome. And I was kind of doubtful. I felt like it was getting by on concept art and some ideas. And when I saw some gameplay, I am in. Next, Flintlock Siege of Dawn, which is a weird game. Have we heard of this game before? It felt new to me.
I think we did, but I don't think it looked anything like this before.
So as I'm watching it, I was like, this looks bad. But the more I watched it, I loved the creature designs. There's like your pet thing, and you can summon these weird creatures. Some of the enemies. The animation was atrocious. Actually, really bad. And if I notice it, that is not good. But I'm still minorly intrigued by the world it's creating. I'm not going to write it off by any means, but there is potential.
I actually didn't notice the animation, and normally that stands out to me. I think I was just kind of watching the amount of characters. Well, I definitely was doing that. I was trying to catch up. The amount of characters, like the effects, the gameplay, it seemed pretty interesting. Like all the stuff they were doing and throwing at it. I think before when we saw this, it was purely CG, and they highlighted that little like dog friend character a lot, and I didn't really understand it, but it looks better now. I don't really know what to make of it still. Except for like third-person action game, so right up Frank's alley. But
I mean, I definitely thought of stuff. There was another game that made me think of Kenna, and these like the third-party action games that are being done by mainstream publishers and developers, Sony games specifically. Like those are hard to compete with, and even something like Kenna that had an amazing art style. Like the polish and gameplay just can't live up to that. So it's going to be hard to deliver on a game where I'm going to move aside from stuff like Last of Us Remake, God of War, and take my third-person action game and divert it to something like this. So I don't know if I might give it a chance. I don't know if it has what it takes to attract the general populace. So I would gladly be wrong about that. But Sean, anything to add about this game?
This one didn't really stand out to me. Just, I feel like the title, the visuals, like it's all just kind of, it was kind of getting to that point in the show where it's like you're starting to fade a bit, and it's like unless something jumps out and really grabs your attention, like, yeah, I don't know, just this one doesn't have it for me. But it's one of those things. Maybe amazing reviews, suddenly people will pay attention. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be heavily dependent on reviews and exposure. Next, I'm sure another huge game or announcement that I don't really care about. Minecraft Legends, which showed some gameplay, looked a bit like an open world, third-person Minecraft game. Now, they said at the end it's an action strategy game. I didn't necessarily get that vibe from the gameplay. I'm not a Minecraft person. Obviously, I think at this point, is it safe to say the most popular game in the world?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
My cousins that I saw on the weekend, they don't even play Minecraft, and they just watch Minecraft videos. So it's transcended interactive entertainment. So I'm sure the internet is buzzing about this game, but I have nothing to say about it.
The only weird thing I saw was when they actually showed gameplay at the end for that little bit. It looked like it was almost toon shaded, whereas
It's a different art style.
Yeah, it didn't look great. Like, I don't know why they changed it. But yeah, I don't know what the action strategy is going to be exactly. Like, what is that even?
I mean, when I think of actions, if you guys think, I'll ask you guys first. If you think of a game that's a hybrid of action and strategy, what games come to mind?
I don't
One
know.
comes to mind for me immediately that tried to do this.
Star Wars Republic Commando. I don't know, something with squad mechanics. That's really all I can think of.
Brutal Legend, which you had the minions that you would do hack and slash gameplay and have minions that you control.
I mean, would you consider like StarCraft
That would just be strategy, I think.
strategy?
The only other game I thought of, I mean, Pikmin is a casual strategy game, and Overlord was a bit like that too. The Overlord series on 360. I think this is heavier on action, but yeah, pretty nebulous and a strange way to introduce the genre as far as I'm concerned. Next,
Just on the trailer, I thought it was going to be like Minecraft Dungeons as an MMO. I thought that's where they were going with it. So it was strange that, the strategy thing came in at the end.
my thought was open world action game, like taking it to like a Mario type place. But I guess we'll see. Next, Lightyear Frontier. My note here is Snooze Fest. I do not remember a frame of this game. Anyone have anything to say?
Well, we've seen it before. It was basically like you're a mech farmer, basically, on a world.
Oh, actually, you know what? Now I remember it. It wasn't that bad. I think my Snooze Fest note is it just isn't that exciting. I like spraying water on the plants with your mech. That looked neat, but
Oh yeah, super neat.
It is a weird combination, but
it felt like a weird game to showcase here, I guess.
yeah.
It felt kind of obligatory, if I'm being honest. But not. I wouldn't write it off. I just want to say, just putting a caveat out there, I do not write off any game ever. It's never happened. If reviews are good for a game, I will play it. I might not initially think it's good, but I will try and probably buy any game. So,
Multiple times.
exactly. I'm not writing it off, but it was not looking good. Okay. Gunfire Reborn, which I think has been on Steam, and I don't know if it's early access or not, but it's coming to Xbox later this year. It's a cell-shaded first-person shooter roguelike. Gonna move on unless someone wants to add something.
The only thing I had never heard of this game. It just reminded me of the characters reminded me of the characters from Star Fox for some reason. They're just that kind of animal, cartoony. That's it.
I love roguelikes. I think I bought it or the demo on PC. I just haven't gotten around to playing it. So the only thing I could add is the way they were hyping it up. It felt like it was a big deal. And I'm like, is this game a big deal? They're making me think this game's a big deal by this trailer.
Well, on Steam right now, it has 64,000 reviews, which means quite a lot of people bought it. Usually it's like about a 1 to 10 ratio of 1 being people that review it and 10 being the actual amount of people that bought it. So if it sold, 600,000 copies, that's a lot of copies, a lot of people trying it out. So
Yeah.
obviously some people are interested in it. $20 on Steam about.
Okay, next, another very pleasant surprise for me anyway. The Last Case of Benedict Fox, which is a weird paranormal, looks like it might be a Metroid-like story-based game. Cool art style, lighting. I mean, it doesn't come out till 2023 if I remember correctly, but I definitely was like, this is a Sean game all the way, and I thought it looked great.
Definitely caught my eye. I don't think it had been announced previously that I'm aware of.
I don't know.
And yeah, from what I've seen, it's like Lovecraftian, Gothic, Metroidvania is how people are describing it. And I'm just kind of excited. I feel like there's a lot of Metroidvania stuff out there now, but not a lot take time to actually try and do something with story. And I get why you wouldn't. I mean, that's the whole thing with these games is you can have very minimal story and just focus on the gameplay. But like, I like the idea, so I hope this one pans out. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought I was going to love this, but something about it just didn't really, tickle me the right way. But I will definitely keep it on my list. I'm definitely not going to write it off. But I don't know. There's something about it I wasn't really feeling.
All right, next felt like a big game, but I'm going to preface this with, this was the game that kind of rubbed me wrong out of any game I saw.
Wow, okay.
I thought this game looked brutal, and it's As Dusk Falls. Now, when they said I would pitch it as a multiplayer Quantic Dream game where people can interact and make decisions, the lead up to this game was, this is prestige television, but interactive with this unique art style. I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty good. First of all, I hate the art style. I'm just going to say it straight up. I hate the art style for this game. And Prestige TV, the acting in this game was brutal, and the writing was also brutal. If you're going to preface your video game interactive narrative as Prestige TV, you better be bringing it a bit more than this game. This was a complete fail as far as I'm concerned.
This was also, did you guys watch the Tribeca one?
No.
Oh,
It was also heavily featured in that one. And,
Was I the only one that was laughing at the writing and acting in this thing?
well, I was skipping through it.
I was more like the art style, like they described it as like a motion comic, and right away I was like, ugh, that's doesn't. And like, there's parts of it that I was like, this could be kind of cool, but I'm pretty sure it just feels cheap. It feels like you're cutting corners because you couldn't do full animation or whatever.
The weirdest thing was, I don't know if it was this Xbox or the Tribeca, but they had footage of them doing live action recording of the scenes.
Yeah,
So
they're just picking frames and...
Yeah, you're doing like full mocap, and then you're like taking like the first frame and then like the 100th frame, and like that's what you're doing with all that
there's
motion
some
capture.
processing effect. Reminded me a bit of like some of the animated stuff that Richard Linklater has done. Not the same art style, but probably a similar process to accelerate it. I got nothing for this. Like the negative reaction, which it's very hard, like with new stuff, to have an adverse reaction for me. I feel bad picking on this game, but it was hyped up in the pre-discussion, and it was my expectations were so high, and I was like, yikes.
They've shown this before, I'm pretty sure, and it almost feels to me like it's like cheap rotoscoping.
Yeah,
where they only wanted to do like one rotoscope frame every 2 minutes. Yeah. And that's like what they decided to do.
And I would be fine. I would give the art style a chance. I feel like the art style could be a grower. Like initially it's off-putting, but there's at least an aesthetic to it that I could like. But it was, a game like this is going to come down to the writing and performance. And I thought that was quite bad, although my expectations might have been high. I'll just say, if they can pull off like something interesting with the co-op mechanic and how you affect other people's stories, if you're playing as different characters that meet up, still could be cool. I think there is potential in the game.
I was wondering about that too. I really think they're going the Until Dawn, the Quarry route, and I think it's just kind of like a voting thing. So it's like if you're playing with like 4 other people, you all vote on what decision you should make, and then the winner is whoever voted for the most. Something like that. I think. I could be wrong, but
I thought they kind of emphasized the co-op. Like that feels like a community thing, online decision making. When I hear co-op, I think we are interacting.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I read something about it on Steam.
And I mean, this game is they basically have a timeline branching. They showed that feature that is very similar to a Quantic Dream game, and seeing all the possible choices. So that's your basis for comparison. I don't love Quantic Dream games. Like, Huck, you like them a lot, but yeah. I mean, they have big time performers. And I mean, Heavy Rain was like a first one where the acting is not great, but it was at a different point in time. So that's kind of the basis for comparison. And they've got that Star Wars game coming out. I don't know.
So here's what it says. It says the As Dusk Falls companion app makes making choices in game easy. Just use your phone or tablet to vote with or against your friends.
I vote no. Okay, next. Naraka Blade Point, which has been on the Epic Game Store, I think, coming to Xbox. It's a online third-person action game. Next, an interesting art style, albeit one I didn't love all that much. A narrative adventure from Obsidian called Pentiment, I think, which had this kind of cartoonish, old-timey art style. I thought it felt really slow. Huck, it's tough for you to judge this at 2 times speed, but it felt very... there were some cool puzzle mechanics. I was not crazy about it, but there is some cool ideas in there.
There's one game that I would say has a similar art style in a different show that I'll talk about later that did it much better than this. Like, I couldn't really tell what the gameplay in this was going to be, really. I mean, they showed some scenes where, like, a guy's getting beat up, and then they showed a scene where, like, I don't know, there was some other stuff going on, and I just couldn't tell, like, what you were doing in those sequences.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like kind of just a dialogue-driven game, but then there was some other stuff later on that I was like, oh, maybe there's a bit more to it, but I couldn't really tell.
Okay, Grounded, out of early access. I can't imagine this game is doing all that much these days. Sean, you tried it. Have you ever returned to it?
Not really. The trailer did kind of make me want to maybe give it another shot, but...
You're lying. No, it didn't.
No, it did. It honestly did.
Look, he's going to do it now to spite me, but he would never return to it if I didn't challenge him. Next is... I have a spelling mistake here. So, can someone help? It is Aeroban Shadow.
I think so.
Shadow something.
Shadow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's autocorrecting. Kagact is how I spelled it to Legacy. Now, this looked okay. It's a stealth game that has kind of a. If people played Contrast, going into shadows, but taking it to like almost a Splatoon level where you can navigate through continuous shadows. A very similar mechanic to Shim, which is in the Day of the Devs, being able to go into shadows. Yes. I was more intrigued by Shim, but this looked okay. I like the shadow idea, but it's not something that I'm super excited for.
Not a needle mover.
All right. Nope. Got lots to talk about. Moving on. Next, a very big announcement, which I was not expecting at all. I thought Diablo Immortal was going to be the Diablo thing for quite some time. So, and I didn't know Rod Ferguson had gone to Blizzard or Diablo as well. He used to do the Gears of War games. He was like the big designer on that after Cliffy B left, I think. And Diablo 4, open world Diablo game. And I got to say, it sounds pretty good to me. I like Diablo. I don't love it. I thought this game looked amazing. As I mentioned, I expect amazing things from Blizzard art direction. I thought the lighting was great. I thought it looked cool. I think Diablo 4 looks great.
It was looking good until they said strongholds, and I thought, oh no, it's going to be a ubification of this game. There's going to be towers. There's going to be all that kind of Ubisoft stuff that you have to like gain the territory in order to unlock everything. I'm like, oh no.
I mean, that's every open world game.
I know, but there's going to be like quest markers everywhere. It's just going to be brutal. But you know what? I actually forgot Diablo 4 was even announced. I was like, is there even a Diablo 3? I'm so out of the Diablo loop. But I thought it looked okay. I was a little concerned when they showed like a huge CG necromancer thing in the beginning, and then they kind of went into the gameplay, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting it, but it didn't really look. I remember like Diablo 3 stuff looking better, I think. I don't know if it was just the feed I was watching or whatnot, but
this game looked like visually looked awesome. Like the lighting effects, that one coiled snake, the blood rolling thing. There was some really cool ideas. I'm just gonna say this. I know this in Nobody Saves the World. Like necromancers seem to be popping up everywhere. I don't care about necromancers. Not something I'm into. Apparently, it's a big deal all of a sudden. Kind of like when vampires, everything was a big deal. I don't get necromancers summoning things and dead bodies. I love live flesh. I don't like dead flesh and reanimated.
People like having minions, I think, is what it comes down to. But,
minions do absolutely nothing for me. Any game that has minions, Pokemon, I remember wanting to play Ni no Kuni really bad, and then you had to manage all these minions. And what was the old stupid Sega game with, was it like, where you had a garden? Billy Hatch, like, Yuji Naka games were always like some like Tamagotchi thing where he was always trying to get like these pets and growing life things in the middle, like not into it. And necromancers are not that, but let's just go completely against minions. No more minions, please.
I just, on the Diablo 4 thing, the one thing that is kind of cool, they said everything's coming out within the next year. That means Diablo 4 is coming out within a year. That's a little surprising.
I agree. I have that note as well, Sean. Thank you for reminding me. And also, Xbox exclusive.
Did they say that?
Yes.
I don't know.
Big get.
I'm seeing on IGN cross-play and cross-progression on PC, Xbox One, PS5, PS4,
really?
and Switch. Maybe they're wrong. That's what it says on the IGN site.
I mean, okay, well, however they phrased it at the end of the video, it said...
They did say cross-play on Xbox and PC.
Yeah, so, okay. I guess that makes more sense to me. I was very surprised when it was exclusive, so no big deal.
And it wasn't Game Pass as well.
It wasn't.
It was not. I remember I paused the video when they did that 2002, 2003 comparison of all the games coming out, and some of them had a little Game Pass banner at the top. Okay. Diablo did not. So it is not Game Pass.
I'm going to say it. That's shocking to me now that they're owned by Microsoft. Where is the blowback? Gamers, get up in arms. Demand it on Game Pass.
They're pretty, shady with some of that stuff. You don't know what is and what isn't.
I would assume everything they own is. Next,
well,
speaking of that point, that no one plays, and I can't believe 30 million people play. Sorry, Huck.
Oh, I was just gonna say, as far as the how do you tell what's what? Especially when they flash world exclusive, world premiere, at the beginning of every trailer, and then you just blank it out. You don't even look at it. How are you supposed to know what's what? It's so convoluted. I'm not going to read that same panel every time to make sure one word has changed to see what.
Imagine if you were watching it in one time speed.
I know. Gosh.
You know what? Shout out to Sean and I. We watch these things. We put more watching time into this than a Film Junk Premium.
Yeah. We need a hero drop right now. Get on that soundboard.
I'm dropping it for myself, just in verbal form. I am a hero. Sean is a hero. Watching these in real time, dissecting video. Back to Sea of Thieves. Be a captain. I cannot believe this game is still going. Season 7. It is not a good game. Don't care. Moving on. I have no notes for this. Kind of has vanished from my mind. Ravenloke.
This is the game that. Do you remember the Echo Generation game? The game by the Coco Cucumber guys?
Okay, yeah. This actually had the bosses looked really cool.
Yeah. It kind of looked like Echo Generation, but in 3D.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. So some of the stuff definitely had that voxel art style, but not all of it. So I couldn't tell. It almost seemed like it was you kind of go into a world and it's voxel, and then there's another world that's not, maybe, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty good, but the gameplay looked looked decent, especially in the bosses. I haven't played Echo Generation. I was disappointed with River Bond, but this looked pretty good. Next up, now this is from one of the lead designers of Inside and Limbo. I don't know it's Jeppe Carlson, I think. I don't know if they were the lead visionary on those games or just part of a team. I don't know, but this new puzzle game, kind of top-down 3D version though, not a side scroller, called Cocoon. This felt like a Sean game. I thought it looked pretty good. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I thought it looked cool. I mean, it was a little hard to fully grasp. Like, it was one of those ones I wish there was the developer walking you through it a little bit, but it seemed like there's these orbs that have different effects and there's puzzles to solve with that. And yeah, I mean, it looked like my kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost looked like you were changing dimensions or having some sort of shift in the geometry of the world based on when you put the orbs into certain things. But I don't know. I wasn't really understanding what exactly it was either.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of timing based puzzles where gates open and almost like following a process, like a Rube Goldberg machine or something with a bunch of interacting orbs. Also channeling some idea of levels within levels. Made me think of the end of Men in Black with pulling out to show the galaxies as marbles and stuff like that. Some recursive element. I don't know if that'll actually be in gameplay or it was just a marketing thing, but it looked really good. Good name too. I love the name Cocoon.
Yeah.
Next up, a pretty big announcement. Some people on the Discord were speculating it was going to be Neo 3, but it is a new Team Ninja game called Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which to me, it was mostly a cinematic trailer, but seems to be basically somewhere between Neo and Sekiro. I think leaning into just the action combat that Team Ninja is known for. Although I'm actually struggling to think, was there any gameplay in this?
I think there was, but I couldn't tell. I mean, it could have just been Metal Gear. Was it Revengeance? Revengeance had kind of similar ninja-y style combat. I couldn't tell if it was a Souls-like at all. I
don't think it is. I think it's going to be more of an action game, but it's weird because I've always said, why is the Neo Sekiro rivalry not a bigger deal? It felt like they kind of stole from each other in this, you're going to steal from us, we're going to steal from you. Now this feels like a steal back. I want a documentary about a rivalry. I'm inventing a rivalry between these two development teams, and I imagine them shit talking, playing the other game when it comes out, and shit talking them like they stole this from us, and just hating each other. Can someone please tell me this is real? That these two teams hate each other and are fueled by taking the other's ideas and making them better. And I want to direct a movie about this.
You want to direct now?
Okay. Yeah, I want to fucking direct it, baby.
I actually didn't realize Team Ninja did Neo. I actually thought From Software did all those games.
No,
and they're just double dipping.
They stole from each other. It's amazing. This should be a bigger deal. Moving on.
I guess yeah, okay. You were just gonna say
you go. Sean, I haven't shut up. You talk.
I mean, yeah, that. This game, it's a big deal because it was part of them saying, "Hey, we're starting to get some Japanese developers on board with Game Pass," and so yeah, in that sense, it was a big deal. And the next announcement was probably a big deal.
Yeah, and I certainly feel the same way, especially over the last 10 years. In the 2000s. I feel like North American development was more interesting than Japanese for the most part. I've had an opposite shift. Most of the games I've loved from the last 10 years have been developed in Japan. And something like Nier Automata, very strange, unique, a lot of cool ideas. Final Fantasy VII Remake, games I really liked. So I think this is a good direction for Microsoft. Always struggled in Japan, so not that surprising either. Although I feel like they might have abandoned that idea. But Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 5 Royale coming to Xbox Game Pass, I think. Starting with Persona 5 Royale in October, if I remember correctly. And again, a big franchise that I am not personally a fan
so
of.
hang on, I gotta stop you. So Phil Spencer made this same mistake. I'm pretty sure it's just Persona 5 Royal. There's no E on the end. And he made that mistake, and I just looked it up, and it says Royal on Wikipedia. You said Royale.
Of course, I was making fun of Phil. Duh.
So I just got to set the record straight because I've been playing Persona 5, and now I feel like I should stop because I've been playing on that shitty PlayStation when I could be playing it on Game Pass in like 4 months.
I mean, when I talk about Blue Haze and how much better PlayStation exclusives are, I don't even consider Persona games. I'd forgotten they were exclusive pretty much until this point. So, hey, it'll be Blue Haze. Although it's gone now, I didn't use it while I could, but that was kind of a big deal.
It'll be interesting, though, because I think Persona 4 Golden is only Vita. Oh, no, it does have a PS4 release.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then continuing with kind of pulling things from PlayStation, the only non-year out announcement that I can think of was that Kojima, the next game Kojima will be making, a brand new idea will be published, it seems like to me, although it was a bit nebulous, by Microsoft Studios. And we've been speculating, where is he going to go next? Is it going to be an exclusivity deal? And for the record, every time I've talked about this, I have said Kojima is overrated, which makes me think Xbox is going to get him because his games are not that good. And in my opinion, Microsoft acquires the wrong developers. They have good games, not great games. And as soon as they go to Xbox, Rare, I'm not even that big on Remedy and a few other ones that they've acquired. They don't seem to do that well. So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's a return to form for Kojima. We saw nothing of the game, but it is a big get. Like, he is a big name in games, and him shifting to Xbox, where he's traditionally always been associated with PlayStation, first and foremost, I think that's kind of a big deal.
Though he did say famous last words, we're going to take advantage of the cloud, use the cloud.
Oh, yes.
Big on the cloud, so watch out.
And I haven't beaten Death Stranding. I've only played a few hours. As far as I know, like the liking and what I think he said was a new genre, the Stranding genre. Maybe the Stranding genre couldn't thrive without proper cloud technology. So I'm hoping this is finally allowing the visionary of all visionaries in the game industry the opportunity to explore the Stranding genre as it was intended to be. I can only imagine the barf-worthy narratives that are going to come out of this. But
well, it's funny that Stranding thing you just mentioned. There is a game that was in one of the conferences, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's called something Stranding, and they are literally saying we're part of the Stranding genre now.
I remember when Death Stranding released, reading articles with Kojima where it's like, this is a new genre. We're inventing the Stranding genre. Like, it was, to me, a 2.9D equivalent with Oddworld. It felt like a real stretch. You know what? Make your game come out, have people love it, and acknowledge, like, this is something new. Then go for it. Like, don't profess you're creating a new genre. But who knows? Maybe there is a huge love and demand out there for the Stranding genre. And of course, Kojima didn't actually say this game is the Stranding genre. No. I'm just roasting that a little bit. But needless to say, still a big deal. And I do appreciate the unique ideas Kojima brings to the table. So I hope this one's good. Lastly, to conclude the show, the biggest game coming from Xbox that has been delayed from this year, Starfield from Bethesda. The first extended gameplay stuff we've seen from this game. This was another one where I was initially underwhelmed. It was very similar to Redfall for me, where you see it and it's like, okay, this is a next-gen Bethesda game in space. It's exactly what you might expect, almost to a detriment. Like the idea of the combat looked rough to me. Like the reactions of the enemies when you go into that first area, it felt kind of lifeless, the combat, compared to other current games. I will say technologically, I felt like Bethesda games, Skyrim, Fallout, were lagging behind other games. And I've always thought they've gotten a free pass graphically and performance and polish. I feel like they've closed that gap a bit. In particular with the creature and people models, like that,
and people animation.
Yeah, that has gotten much better. The combat feels about the same. There isn't much of a hook, like thinking of how there's VATS in Fallout. I'm not seeing the combat hook, but the more I saw, I thought the menus looked amazing. And the character creation stuff looked fantastic. Those are not things I love in games. And the space station building, like what do they call them in Fallout? The shelters, or not the shelters, the bases you can set up.
Yeah, base building?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but for whatever reason, the idea of doing that as a space colony or idea, it felt more appropriate to me and a little more interesting. And hiring people and populating these bases, as well as the ship customization, there's a lot to do. I don't know if any of it looks like it's that amazing on its own. So I guess if you like big, complicated worlds, you would love this. Lastly, they said the game is going to be huge, kind of extrapolating from one planet in a system to like 100 systems. I think saying there's going to be thousands of planets. And from what I've seen, I just finished this like an hour ago. I saw some quick stuff out there. A lot of people drawing comparisons to No Man's Sky. And I definitely was thinking of that when it was harvesting the gold from one of the cave walls. Or was it iron? Pardon me. I think it was iron. But it looks pretty good. I'm not into these games. I always try each one, and I'm usually disappointed. I hope this is the one that grabs me, but if I'm being perfectly honest, the scope is almost a detriment to me. Like, I don't know if I want to play a game that I have to play this much of it. I'm probably the least big fan of Bethesda stuff here. What do you guys think?
I was watching it, and right away the big robot friend guy walk cycle, it looked like it was missing like a couple frames at the end. He's kind of like jumping down. I was like, oh no, has Bethesda done it again? But then everything else looked fine. So that was just like a thing I was worried about at the beginning. I agree. The human animations look good. There was, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was like some... Well, I'm in the same boat as you, Frank, where like the beginning I was very concerned and I got more concerned. And then once they went into the space part, I was like, okay, this looks a lot better.
Just on the concern part, when they're walking down the hill, like just walking slow, and it's like, am I just like walking from place to place? They cut away from it. It's like they dissolved to some other section. I'm like,
yeah.
What about that stretch? Like, what's happening there?
Yeah, and then they also did another like sneaky cut where they were fighting the pirates, and then they like boost over that canyon, and they're totally not going to make the jump, and then it just cuts and they're on the ledge. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Yeah. I'm like, wait a second, what just happened there? Like, he was definitely going to fall down in that gap there. So they totally like couldn't find any better footage that was linked together, and they just cut and like put it together. I found that kind of funny. But the storyline felt very Mass Effect 1 for me. Like, basically take that object and replace it with the beacon in Mass Effect 1, and you basically had the exact story of Mass Effect 1, except instead of getting visions of the Reapers coming, you have visions of something else being created. Like, it's basically the exact same story.
And, well, it's hard not to compare this game. Even the boost part you're talking about made me think of the booster boots in Andromeda, which I didn't finish. But
yeah,
you know, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking of Mass Effect the whole time. Especially like the cities remind me of the Citadel. All these ideas. It's hard not to like compare them directly. And the one thought I had for comparisons, I still think like aliens, humanoids are way more compelling in Mass Effect, but creatures and it's like those weird alien creatures that were big or had weird shape design, that stuff is way more compelling in this to me. So, and the kind of world design felt pretty comparable. Like, it made me think more of, what was the Dragon Age game that launched on PlayStation 4? Inquisition, which had really unique levels and fantasy worlds. I thought it was on par with some of that stuff. So, I was not that excited for Starfield. I am much more excited after seeing this.
I think a lot of people who are Bethesda fans will be excited because it has a lot of that, like, Bethesda DNA. It's got, collecting resources, discovering locations. They didn't show them being over encumbered, which was nice. That would be something you don't want to feature, but I'm sure it's going to be in there.
Maybe future technology has advanced that we're no longer over encumbered. We have
I doubt it.
A floating. We have teleporters. I can just teleport stuff.
Oh, I doubt it. But I mean, they had the faction stuff. They featured that. So that's a big Bethesda hook. And that is the big difference, I think, between Mass Effect and Bethesda, is that Mass Effect has characters in your party. Bethesda games have these factions you can join up with and get your character interactions that way. But skill tree stuff, very Bethesda. Base building's a nice addition. Starship creation, or spaceship creation, nice addition. And I actually thought the space, maybe not the battles parts look pretty basic, but the actual visual out in space looked really good, I thought. And I don't know what they said.
I was thinking about Black Flag, Assassin's Creed, like how they had the ship fighting on the water, like taking that idea and putting it in space. So I agree, that looked really neat.
Yeah, when they did that, though, I'm thinking Star Citizen. And like some of the stuff Star Citizen has shown blows this out of the water. But I mean, you also need like the craziest of crazy PC rigs to run Star Citizen. And I don't think they said thousands of planets. I think he just said 1,000 planets. Like, I think that is the cap.
But didn't they say like 100 solar systems, 9 planets each, approximately, something like that? So
yeah. So it's kind of like 1,000. But land anywhere, like that is very No Man's Sky. I can't imagine them doing that. That seems crazy to me that they would allow that. I mean, I guess they could if they have the like geometry generation tech, but why?
I thought it was a little nebulous when it came to that. It was like, hey, we can land here, the city we shown, but we could also land on the opposite side of the planet. It still felt like they didn't really say, and then you could literally walk from one area to the other. I think there are areas all over the planet, but I don't think it's a fully connected planet.
Yeah, the only thing that made me think otherwise is they were talking about that like ice planet that's resource rich that you could land on. And I mean, I guess they could have areas you can land in, but it seemed weird. Like, why would you want to have the player walk? I mean, and then it basically implies like you could essentially walk around the entire planet to get back to your ship. Like, why would you want to do that? Anyways, I thought it looked pretty good. Much better than I was expecting. I was expecting major jank, and it actually was not bad.
Surprisingly jank free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked pretty good. My concerns are kind of the same ones you guys had. Like, it felt, overall, the whole game kind of felt slow. Definitely the combat felt slow-ish. And like the idea that they always have to sell their games on the size of them. And, that's like you were saying before, Frank, they get a free pass on some other things. It's usually because it's like, well, okay, but their games are huge. Like, there's so much content. That's why, the animations suck or whatever. But, I mean, I don't know if that trade-off is what I personally want. I mean, maybe some people want that. But, yeah, Mass Effect meets No Man's Sky is basically what it looks like, which, that's kind of I'm into that. So I'll definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass, I think, so you can just try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than having to buy it and stop playing it.
Exactly.
The one weird section I think you were talking about this before, where he comes across that one like horned beetle type enemy, and then it gets all up and he like pulls the gun and stops. And I think that was supposed to show like, oh, you may not want to attack everything. Like some things are passive, may just look aggressive. But then they like lingered while like 3 or 4 of them come over that ridge. Like it's such a weird choice to show in a big showcase. Like why would you spend so much time? Why not just let the first one walk away? Why not then just go? Like,
I mean, ultimately my question is, the combat doesn't look that great. So what am I going to be doing when I'm exploring? Because you need stuff to do while you're exploring. If they have good solutions for that to make getting from one place to another interesting, I think it'll be a great game. So I hope it's good. All right. I think that's it for the Xbox Bethesda showcase. Mm-hmm. We are already at 1 hour and 10 minutes. Let's give our letter grades. I will give it a B-.
I am giving it a B.
I'm also going to give it a B. I thought it was pretty good.
It was pretty good. And, if I was leaning towards a B, it would probably be because it's within 12 months. So I can be a little more forgiving that they're showing us stuff we're going to play soon and not just padding it with, you know what? I'm going to upgrade to a B. This is all stuff we're going to see in a year. Now, if this stuff doesn't come out within a year, like I suspect it won't, I'm changing my star rating to a D.
Well, it's possible. I mean, that's the thing. Like, again,
if Starfield is not out within a year from today, you retroactively get a D.
If Kojima Cloud Magic is not out in a year, look out.
That's what's surprising, though. Like, so both Starfield and Redfall and Diablo 4, all of those are not going to be part of the big fall release window. That seems weird. Like that.
Not to me. It seems like every game is February, March now.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Definitely a lot of that going on.
It just shifted. Whether it's COVID or other things, like that release window has shifted by about 5 months from what it used to be. And now the holidays are kind of reserved for the standards like sports games and Call of Duty and shit like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of Call of Duty, let's get into the Summer Game Fest conference. I am not going to go through every announcement. I'm going to try to pick some highlights that I think we should talk about the show in general, and then if anyone wants to add anything, we'll do that. I'll just start by saying this was 2 hours approximately, and I did not think it was good. And I don't think I'm alone in thinking that. I thought it was a term I've been saying a lot lately, even though I don't love it. Pretty cringe, everything about it. And it starts off by being kind of cringe, something I alluded to earlier, like trying to own or brand now that there is no E3, like Summer Game Fest, SGF, all this stuff, like Jeff Keighley basically trying to take this over. And this felt extremely antiquated. Like talking to people, the interviews. I am such a big fan of the 40-minute canned video. Just keep it coming. Let's get it all out of the way. We can go back and look at stuff later, look up the game if we want. This was a slog to get through. I looked down after 40 minutes and I'm like, there's 1 hour and 20 minutes of this thing left.
And also, a lot of the stuff we saw was CG. It wasn't, whatever. It was cinematic. It wasn't even gameplay. So, a lot of it, I was like, why are they even showing this? Like, you have this big platform and you're showing like a cinematic thing. Why?
Yeah, I have that note as well. Just in general, the CG trailer trend. I had one specifically called out. Super People. Like,
yeah.
What the hell was that? Like,
my note is CGBS.
Yeah, mine is what is going on with the CG trailers? And then I have to say, prefacing a 2-hour show you're about to watch with YouTube with, you're not going to get everything, but you're going to get a lot of great stuff. That's a quote. Like, tempering expectations. I think Sean, before it even aired, they were saying, don't be expecting amazing stuff here. Well, yeah. Then don't give me 2 hours of it would be great. Especially stuff I've seen before. So, Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think the thing is, what he's trying to do with this specific showcase is it's trying to be the big mainstream thing for just your casual gamers who are kind of popping in. They want to see some celebrities. They just want to see some flashy trailers. They don't care about 15-minute breakdowns of gameplay mechanics from the developers. They just want to see the sizzle, you know? And
well, except that's exactly what they did for Call of Duty and some other games. It was like,
yeah, there was some of that.
10-minute showcase. It was the only one that did that.
Well, I mean, I guess Last of Us was a bit of a, maybe not a, showcase of the game itself, but it was a big, have people up on stage talking.
It was a fucking stroke fest. We'll get to that. Trust me, we will get to that. Blue haze is dissipating during that last part of this thing.
Not for Keeley.
Let's, we will get there. Trust me.
He must be so sad that Kojima went to Microsoft. It must just break his heart. They're probably not even talking anymore.
If we're talking about moratoriums on things, I have from the show, video post-processing, making something look like video, whether it's the title screen, every trailer is like you're watching it on a VHS. Enough. Every fucking game has this. Not to mention, 4 of the games here were kind of Dead Space clones. Like Callisto Protocol, and then there was another. It didn't look bad either. I thought Sean would love it. What's it called? Where you have like that gun with the happy face on it. Fort Solace. Fort Solace.
Oh, maybe, you know what? When we were talking, is that the one that has the gun with the AI?
Yeah,
maybe I got it mixed up.
Yeah, because you said the PC one, right? But
yeah,
it could have been in both. I don't know. But a lot of similar type looking games, and just starting. Like the first thing is Guile coming to Street Fighter 6. Okay, maybe that's a big deal in the Street Fighter community. I have no idea. Next, Aliens: Dark Descent. Again, a long, ugly CG trailer. Like I mean, ugly CG trailer. It didn't even look good. And then you get 2 seconds of like top-down dual stick gameplay.
And that gameplay looked like trash. I don't know if you noticed, but none of the hero characters had shadows. So it looked like they're just kind of like floating in space weirdly. Like if you go back and look, it's so weird. But then all the enemies do have shadows. So like what is even going on?
Roasted. You just got roasted. Never mind animations. This guy's going after shadows.
It's important for grounding the characters to the floor so you know where you are, height-wise.
Preach it. Preach the shadows.
The other thing with this game that's weird is I've seen 2 conflicting things out there, and I don't know if there is an official word on it. Some people are saying this is a co-op, like twin stick shooter, and some people are saying no, it's actually a single player, like squad based. You tell your squad members where to go.
I have no idea. There was literally 2 seconds of gameplay, and I like these types of games. I'm not saying I wouldn't play this game either, but just the way it was presented, very strange. And I got the vibe, like I was just guessing, I don't know who's making this game. It was like The Ascent, because it's called Dark Descent. I was like, I wonder if the people who made The Ascent just reskinned that game as Aliens, because it felt very similar.
Yeah, interesting.
But that is pure speculation. It was what I was thinking while I was watching that hunk of junk.
I'll try to verify while you continue.
I will almost guarantee that is not accurate. Is not what is going on there. But next, while we're kind of talking about these sci-fi horror ideas, they showed a gameplay demo of the Callisto Protocol. And again, I thought this looked awesome. I am really into this game. As Jeff Keighley said, insanely polished. They showed some of the deaths, like getting sucked into that fan. I don't know if the like gravity pull gun that they showed off looked amazing. I thought it was kind of weak, especially compared to the dismemberment mechanics of Dead Space, but it looks good. I'm in. And I'm looking at that game and I can see design and level design ideas that I like. Putting fans everywhere and kind of turning them on, like having opportunities to turn them on and gating things through those fans, giving like choice ideas, like what are you going to use a fan for? Are you going to like use it for one idea is a multi-use, deciding how to route power to different fans. I could see being a mechanic. I'm in. I'm really excited for this game. But I was when I saw it in the Sony one a few days before.
The gravity gun thing. So I was a little confused about how it works, and I think it seemed like the way it worked is you got to like take out somebody's legs first before you can pick them up. Did you guys get that? Like it seemed like it was restricted to some degree. Like you can't just pick anything up at any time and whip it around. Like there was some kind of reason for why you could pick up certain things at certain times.
I remember having a similar thought. It wasn't as succinct as yours, but I thought I like that idea. I don't like the Half-Life use it on anything. I kind of want a more grounded and constrained gameplay when it comes to stuff like that. So I personally view that as an opportunity and helping to define gameplay. I know many people would think the exact opposite. They love that some gravity guns, you can use anything in any context. I don't. I like constraints in game design. But again, we've talked about this a bit last week, so I don't want to linger on it too much. I also don't want to linger on the next thing. Modern Warfare 2 was about 10-15 minutes. I am so done with the extended Call of Duty gameplay sections.
Is this game a remake?
No.
Because that oil rig section is like so familiar. Like I feel like it's been in another Call of Duty game
They ripped it
before.
off from Uncharted 3, didn't they? The thing, you're talking about the cargo ship with the stuff shifting back and forth?
Even before that, just like going...
When they bring their raft up to the...
okay.
The oil rig part. But yeah,
I mean,
the shifting containers is kind of Uncharted, but that wasn't the part I was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I was confused because like they did remake the original Modern Warfare. That was a remake, right?
Yeah, but then they made a new Modern Warfare game, like a standalone one, as well as the remake of the original. And this, I believe, is the sequel to that reimagined Modern Warfare. And I think there was talk of remastering Modern Warfare 2, the other one. I don't know. All I know is I play Call of Duty. I typically buy them to play some multiplayer, and I really was struggling to pay attention during this whole thing. Except I liked some of the camera stuff. They had like a camera attached to the raft when they were pulling up. That looked neat. And in the montage at the end, they showed like night vision footage where you were playing, and it looked like when you see like the night cam military footage, it looked exactly like that. It was only like a few frames, but that looked amazing. But I've tried the last 3 campaigns in Call of Duty games, and I make it about 3 missions in, and I'm just kind of done with it. So, okay. Sean, I feel like the next thing we have to talk about, it feels like a Sean game, but to be fair, I don't even know if it is. Flashback 2, a sequel to a beloved game that I've never really played, and I will follow up and say, this looked horrible.
I mean, it was a weird trailer.
It looked worse
right?
than the first one. When it would switch to these weird camera perspectives, and like it looked god awful.
So the trailer, from what I recall, is like they're projecting footage of the game on like these weird cube things or something.
Yeah,
but part of it looked like a remastered version of the original, and then cutting back and showing stuff from the original, and then cutting to these new. It was not the traditional flashback camera perspective. There were a bunch of sections that almost looked like shooters with a top-down perspective, and that's the stuff that I was like, I mean, this is bad.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a lot to go on. I didn't think like it I don't know. Like that, in theory, I'm excited, but like, yeah, I didn't love what I saw. And they did do a remaster or something of the original game a while back, and I never tried it, but I always kind of wanted to go back and give it a shot. So maybe I will, but yeah, I mean, it should be an exciting announcement, but I think the shortness of the trailer shows you that it's not really ready to show.
And it almost, if I recall, it was like, it looked like kind of 2.5D, but then they would also rotate the camera, so you're almost getting like that, like, forward-looking Contra view levels as well, but they did it like not just in a cut. They actually like rotated the camera, so you had these like 2D sprites in this 3D world while it's rotating. It looked really weird. Did not look good. I mean, Octopath Traveler does it to a certain extent, and like other isometric games, but this did not pull it off.
Agreed. A game I've been asking about, like I can never remember the title. I was like, what was that game they showed like 5 years ago? It's back. Witchfire, kind of a weird first-person / fantasy shooter. I still can't wait to play this game. I think the gun models look amazing. Gameplay didn't look as good to me. Like there's kind of these waves of magic effects, and the enemies reacting felt, it feels like a fantasy Doom, where Doom and Doom Eternal are horror, fast-paced shooters. This is like a fantasy spin on that. But I'm excited. It's finally back, and I will check it out, unless it gets awful reviews.
I must say, I almost tuned out at the beginning because the guy like pulls up the gun model, and then I swear it felt like a minute just like looking at it and like stroking it. Like, look at my gun.
They were stroking it. Like they're like,
I was like, oh,
our guns look amazing. I agree. Now let's see what else this game can do.
Yeah.
So I was wrong when I said that the game was Fort Solace. It's actually Routine, which is a better name. That's the one that had the smiley face gun and TV aesthetic. But Fort Solace was another kind of Dead Space revivalish type game. Felt very similar, like a lot of games with this sci-fi horror, like, as I mentioned. So I'm having trouble remembering what Fort Solace was. That's the one.
I can tell you what it was.
The two performers that are like...
it was all about the voice actors. And
yeah, well, Troy Baker talked more than they freaking showed of the game.
It actually
who better to talk about a game than the voice actor?
Yeah, there was two. Apparently, the other performer was in Red Dead 2, I think, which I haven't played, but yeah, like I don't know much about Troy Baker. I don't I don't love what I see, to be honest. But
he's in everything. You should know.
Yeah.
He's in everything.
But Fort Solace, I thought looked decent. I just my only comment is very similar to other stuff we're seeing, which was followed up by Routine, which is the one with like the AI gun, space horror game, which again looks decent, but I just don't know which one of these games is going to stand out between all of them.
Yeah, I think Routine was announced a long time ago and kind of disappeared for a while, and now they're bringing it back. I don't know.
Didn't Keighley say it was announced like 10 years ago or something like that?
Was
like
it?
Some insane amount. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's correct. But I don't know if like it's changed, like if it looks different than it originally did. I assume it's changed a bit, but I thought it looked cool. But again, it's hard to tell what the actual game is, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really in on this. I mean, it has psycho robots and dark hallways, and that was it. And a gun. Like, okay. That was it.
Yeah, but I like the look I like the look of the gun. I thought the gun was a neat idea.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. It seemed like another horror game on a spaceship or something. So,
okay. Next, we got to get into it. The Rock weighing in on Black Adam, and the level of cringe of this was all over the internet. It was crazy. When Sean and I were talking when Andrew was in here last week before the show, I was like, I don't even feel like myself today. I was like disconnected from my brain, and I felt like I was on autopilot. And this felt like The Rock just like doing what I felt last week. Like I'm going to be The Rock, I think, for this weird video where I talk about my energy drink and Black Adam and spout off these rockisms. And, the war of Vin Diesel and The Rock, between the Arc 2 CG on the dinosaur and this video by The Rock, I got to give the win to Vin Diesel. He actually he took the lead for a couple of days, because it was almost parody level.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I felt for a while. I was like, is he making fun of himself? Like, the energy drink thing was so weird. Like, I don't, like like was that part of the agreement that, well, okay, I'll do this little pop in for your thing if I can
100%. That's
plug
what
my energy drink.
Oh,
But,
is that his energy drink?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's it called again? How bad is that? Voa?
Zoa?
Zoa, yeah, I think. But like, it's weird because I feel like, and Frank, you may disagree with me here, but I feel like usually Dwayne Johnson, even when he's like selling stuff and promoting himself, somehow he comes across as mostly genuine, and people buy into it, and people think he's just this genuine guy who loves what he's doing, and he's just wants to make the best movies possible and all that kind of stuff. And this was a moment where it just felt like, what are you doing, man? Like, you just threw all that away. Like, feel like you're just so fake right now.
And did he say that Superman was weak against magic? Is that what he actually said? If I
He mentioned kryptonite.
It was so cringe. I felt bad for The Rock, which is hard to make me do.
It's okay. He's just pumping iron. He's just not looking on the internet. He doesn't give a shit. He's got his money.
He loves working out. You can only get a hold of him in the gym.
Well, do you see that gym? That's probably at his house. It's fucking amazing gym.
Yeah. He's a bajillionaire. What do you want?
Yeah, well, I know. Incredible.
Okay. Enough roasting The Rock. I'm honestly at a point where I am ready to speed round everything else except for the final announcement. So is there anything else people or either of you guys want to mention besides The Last of Us Part 1 remake?
I'll give you a few that just quick comments on the Goat Simulator 3 thing. I guess it's a parody of Dead Island 2 trailer, I think, and I think they previously parodied Dead Island 1 trailer. This game is like, another one of these kind of games that all the streamers play because it's so weird and funny, and my kids love it. So the fact that they're coming out with a multiplayer version of this, I'm sure it will be played at my house, but I didn't hate it. I mean, I kind of don't mind these kind of weird sandbox type games. They have a sense of humor. I'm okay with it. I did want to mention Metal Hellsinger, and actually it's interesting. So because Soundfall, Huck, which you worked on, came out not that long ago, and we had, is it Nick?
Nick. Yep.
We had him on the show to talk about it. And at this show, like all these press conferences for the past week, I must have seen like 4 or 5 games where the gameplay is like shooting to the beat. It's weird. Like Soundfall is ahead of the curve on this. Yeah,
I mean, there's quite a few games kind of getting into this genre, but all I could think of was the shooting that was happening. Like, I was not mad. It didn't seem like it was matching the beat at all to me. Like,
no, I couldn't match it either.
I did not see how a shooter would be interesting shooting to the beat. And to me, that's the thing you have to sell. You got like let's say you pick 1 or 2 songs to showcase your game. It better be visibly cool to shoot on the beat. And
I could not tell. I couldn't figure it out.
So Metal Hellsinger is obviously, it's got a metal soundtrack, and that's kind of their selling point. But I think this is one of the ones that has a demo on Steam right now, so I might give it a try. I'm kind of curious. I just also wanted to mention American Arcadia. I think we may have talked about this one before, but it's like this Truman Show-esque, like dystopian future kind of thing. And I like the setup. I just don't really know what the game is. Like, is it a platformer? I think it's kind of a platformer, but also with puzzle adventure elements, I guess.
But then in a different show, I think, they showed like first person you playing as someone else. So there's almost like 2 aspects of the game where you are someone trying to help the Truman Show nerd guy in these first person puzzle things. And then I don't know if you even control that Truman Show guy, or if those like running sections are just like what are the result of what you do in the first person thing. It's very strange.
Yeah, that's
the only other game I wanted to mention, which I thought looked pretty good, was Midnight Fight Express.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I think we have seen before,
Yes,
but
we have.
it looked really good. Also, I got to give a shout out to Shredder's Revenge 6-player co-op, and it looks pretty fun.
I thought the Casey Jones gameplay looked really good.
Yeah.
And it comes out next week, and apparently it's on Game Pass. They haven't really been talking about that, but apparently.
And also, I forgot to mention, we were all expecting the GoldenEye remaster to be announced with the Xbox showcase, and still a non-appearance.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Okay, I guess the other big game, or the two more we should maybe touch on. Warhammer Darktide, which those Vermintide games are pretty big. This is like getting into a sci-fi Warhammer version of that stuff. It looked pretty good, and I played them a little bit, but they fill a bit of a Left 4 Dead void, perhaps in a way better than Back 4 Blood for a lot of people. So that looked pretty good. And I wanted to touch on the Quarry. It's like, was that Supermassive? Another horror interactive story similar to Until Dawn. Had some big names. A little pretty self-aware. Like when the thing started, I'm like, oh, this is not good. But then it referenced like, oh, yeah, this writing is intentionally bad or lame. It looked okay. Sean, I thought maybe this might be up your alley a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played Until Dawn, and I've always kind of meant to. This, I feel like I'd be more interested in this just because it feels a little bit more fun and kind of campy horror kind of thing. But, you know, from what I understand, it's mostly just kind of interactive fiction. And again, I think this one, I don't think Until Dawn had the co-op element. It was more just a thing that people like to do is they would sit around with friends and kind of choose options and see what happened. This one actually does have the co-op element, I think.
Oh, okay. I kind of missed that. So it's similar to that. I've already forgotten the name.
Yeah, that other one.
Until Dawn?
No, the one we talked about in the Xbox showcase with the innovative art style that looks like poo-poo.
Oh, As Dusk Rains? As Dusk Falls?
As Dusk Falls, sounds right.
As Dusk Falls.
All right, I'm going to blow through some of this other stuff. Outriders, World Slayer. This game's still going. It says it comes with the original, so is this a sequel? Very strange. It actually doesn't look that bad, though. I wish I liked this game.
Yeah, I think it's just DLC or like...
Yeah. But it said includes the original game, so it was framed very weird. Stormgate, an RTS, CGI trailer. I have yikes as my note. Did not look very good. Now, this next one I thought looked decent. High Water. Kind of like the boat sections of The Last of Us Part 2. Looked okay. Replaced Missing in Action. The developers, I think, are kind of... I think they said Belarus and are being impacted by the war in Ukraine, so no update on that game, even though that's something we're all really excited for, I think, so that's a bit disappointing. Mm-hmm. Marvel Midnight Suns, really just showcasing some new characters, kind of a dud. That was...
Yeah, that one, like, I mean, this is one of the big fall games, and I'm really surprised, like, have we even seen gameplay from this? Like, I feel like I don't really know. Like, I know it's a strategy game, and it's like the XCOM people.
XCOM with superhero.
But, like, it just seems weird that it's only been cinematic stuff so far.
It's coming out this year. Obviously not a genre that I'm a personal fan of, kind of a blind spot for me, so I got really nothing to say about it. Cuphead DLC, saw some gameplay footage, which looked good, coming out this week. And Neon White, I have a note, okay, seen enough of this game, time to play. And I'm still not sold on the card mechanic, but yeah. I hope it's good. Warframe announcements, okay, kind of a dud for me personally. Then we get into the Star Rail section, or who the developers of Genshin Impact.
Yeah, this game I think is interesting for me, but they didn't really show much here. It was just like cutscenes and...
It was like a space version of Genshin, and then another game called Senseless Zone Zero, which
Zenless Zone Zero.
Zenless. Okay, autocorrect strikes again. I already mentioned the Super People trailer, which might have been the worst thing I saw. Like, it looked bad.
Yes.
Humankind, a game that has been out for a while. It has it? I didn't know. When I saw the gameplay for Humankind, I'm like, I did not know that's what Humankind was. Or I'm confusing it with Ancestors, maybe. There's a few games like this, but Ancestors is first person, I think. One Piece Odyssey, again, made it seem like a big deal. Means nothing to me.
It's a lot of...
I think it's an anime,
Japan.
right?
Yeah, anime stuff.
Soul Hackers, don't know what this is, looking at the title.
No.
Okay. The next one to me was one of the worst, like, sellings of a game I've ever seen. Not to say that the game's bad, but it was Nightingale. And like when they're teasing the gameplay, like text would come on the screen and it was like zero context for anything. It was like craft realm cards. I'm like, what? What's a realm card? Why would I want to craft it? Like, I don't know what this game is. Like, you were doing the worst job of communicating and making your game sound exciting. And then another one, I didn't make a note of what the second one was. I was like, it actually didn't look that bad from my recollection, but just very bad presentation of a new game.
Nightingale's been announced before, and I'm pretty sure, I actually thought, I have a note saying I actually liked that they did it with narration, because maybe just because all the rest was all CG, this actually did some introduction of game mechanics as the gameplay was happening, and it kind of explained, if I recall, how you kind of go between the realms and, get the weapons and collect stuff and like what you're doing. Like, it actually explained the gameplay in like an in-game voice actor style.
Okay, yes. I actually think the game looks good, but when this is aside from the narrator, it was just like focusing on the key gameplay aspects. And when you just say craft realm cards, the only way that works is if you know what the realms are, and then you can say, oh, I can craft a realm card. If you had some previous context for a realm card, it just was like, is this supposed to move my needle? Because it's literally just scrambling my brain. I'm like, what? But like the portal.
That's a good example of bad stuff. But like, I found a lot of it was pretty good. I think
it looks neat. I think it looks neat. The graphics are pretty good. I'm with you. Bad presentation, but potentially cool game.
And is this ex BioWare, some of the people or something? I thought I saw something
Maybe.
about that.
That sounds kind of familiar. Saints Row. I am so not in. I've never been a Saints Row person. I feel like more so than ever, I do not care about Saints Row 4.
This Saints Row character creator bullshit too was in like every show. I don't know. Yeah, it was in like 3 shows.
It had a good name for it, although I don't remember it. I was like, that's a good name for a character creator.
Character creator?
Boss Factory.
Boss Factory.
Yeah, it's just weird that like this game's coming out in August, and this is the thing that they're focused on. Like, I guess it's kind of a cool feature, but like, what about the rest of the game?
Yeah, doesn't look good. Layers of Fears, a sequel, I think, to Layer of Fear. I haven't played Layer of Fear. Again, a non-needle mover over here.
The only thing is, Unreal Engine 5, lots of Unreal Engine 5 games being showcased.
Yes, 100%.
Which is
I don't know how I feel
for me.
I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I feel like they have a very similar look in general. I kind of remember there was Dark Sector and a bunch of games with Unreal Engine 3 after Gears of War, and they all had a very similar look. And I feel like we're getting into that again. Like, obviously, basically photorealistic visuals, not a lot of art style, good lighting, but I'm like, they're bleeding together. They all kind of feel like the same game. So I feel like companies are going to have to do a better job of taking that engine and playing with shaders and lighting to make the game feel unique. Because like the Medium, Plague Tale, a lot of just kind of generic photorealistic looking games. And I'm not feeling like when I see a Nintendo game, and when we talk about Day of the Devs, these art styles are like so memorable and leaping off the screen saying play me, and these ones are just like, I'll wait for reviews.
Yeah.
And Gotham Knights, a little update with, I think it was Nightwing. Again, kind of weird. We just saw it.
Didn't they already showed Nightwing and
I thought so
Red
too.
Hood. Like, why aren't they showing the other two? But
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
I was questioning the same thing. Like, they were acting like we're finally seeing Nightwing. I'm like, didn't? I couldn't even remember. So,
We did.
Okay. Thank you for confirming. And thank you for wasting 5 minutes of a full 2 hours on that. Ugh, this is not good.
The skip button's there for a reason, boys.
We just covered 2 hours in 20 minutes. And I feel like I still feel equally as bad, like possibly worse talking about it than I was when I was. It is not good. So let's get to the biggest announcement from Summer Game Fest Showcase. The Last of Us Part 1, which got leaked, I think, the day before, coming this September to PlayStation 5, taking the original game, using all the technology, graphics, redoing the art, using the same mocap performances, extrapolating some of that mocap to make it look better. Now, obviously, I'm Blue Haze all the way. I love The Last of Us. This portion of the video was so gross to me. As a
like
Blue
the
Hazer
tears?
all the way,
like
the self-importance and like, first of all, saying like, June is Last of Us month. The first game released in June. The part 2 released 2 years ago in June. Oh, hard to believe that game is 10 years old. Oh, it's hard to believe Last of Us Part 2 came out 2 years ago. Oh, this game, so impactful. Oh, like the self-importance and gushing over everything to do with The Last of Us, which is just enhanced by, in the worst way possible, by Keeley and Troy Baker. Oh, it had me vomiting in my mouth. Like, I'm obviously going to buy this game. I love The Last of Us. I can't wait to see the techgasms and playing that game in an optimal way. But this was like a 10-minute stroke fest that left such a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I'm like, oh, this was gross. I must look away. Thank God this is over, because I'm done.
You didn't look away. Don't lie.
Oh, and like Druckmann again, like everyone's so humble. Like the humbleness is so fake. And I think I texted you guys, like when they're talking about the Last of Us TV show, it absolutely kills Troy Baker. He thinks he should be in that TV show, and it kills him that he has to say like Pedro Pascal. Oh, he's perfect. He's perfect.
well, I mean, but what about the reveal that he is in the show? You know,
Huge.
Yeah, huge. That's only one word. Huck and I obviously reacted with the only word that it fully describes that. Huge. It is just. I can't. Am I alone here?
No.
I mean,
I haven't looked at the internet reactions. Like, is anyone echoing what I'm saying?
well, I don't know about that. I mean, you know, people love Troy Baker, so
I was going to give this show an F, but as soon as I saw that tear roll down Troy Baker's face when he talked about how he felt watching whatever he said he watched.
Did he actually drop tear?
It looked like he was. I don't know if he actually did, but it was close. Maybe I should go back.
Yeah, we got to go back.
We get
confirmation on this.
We can isolate.
Cam
I'm going to look for a screenshot. Troy Baker.
It looked like he was going to cry. And then, who is it? Ashley? No, not Ashley Birch. Who's the other one? Who is the other actual woman that does it?
Ashley something, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Chrissy from Growing Pains, isn't it? That's all I keep thinking of.
But when Troy Baker like almost started crying, she like looked at him, and I I couldn't read her expression. I couldn't read if she was disgusted or like actually like, oh, look at that. That's so sweet. It was hard to read. It was very similar.
She was actually pretty genuine. Like,
yes, she was.
Thank God she was there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to take it. But
yes, I agree.
It's Ashley Johnson.
Yes,
Ashley Johnson.
I was going to say it, but in my head, I kept saying Ashley Joe Johnson. I was combining the Pink Ranger with her character. So I was like, I think I'm wrong. But yeah, it was obviously day one by. Looking forward to playing this game, as I always do. I lobbied for it to potentially be the best game of all time when we did our negotiating at the end of that list, but this was more than I can take. And I'm worried PlayStation movies, just in general, this is the worst case I've seen so far of an emerging trend. The self-importance of video games and storytelling in video games is becoming so gross. I kind of liked that video games were kind of chaotic, unpolished, maybe taken a little less seriously, and we would focus on gameplay and good games. Them becoming like these, cherished properties and ideas that, we really respect everyone who loves these stories and they change their lives. And I'm going to cry. I might actually cry. I'm done. It's making me not like video games. I don't like it. Well,
I mean, I'll go a step further than you and say, like, I don't know, do we need this, update of this game? I mean, I don't think it, like, when you look at the side-by-side comparisons, I don't think they look that much better. Like, I think the original game looks pretty good.
I think the character models looked really good. Upgraded.
Maybe I, needed to increase the resolution of what I was watching at, but like, I don't know. Like, I still think I just played the original version of the game on the PS3 not that long ago, and it held up. So
wait for that giraffe fur. Oh, baby. That's all that should have been. It should have just been like a high-res texture of the giraffe fur. That's it. That's all we're going to show. Sold. This actually was a anti-selling section. It made me want to play this game less than I would have with a single texture. But I guess the only cool thing to me was multiplayer standalone Last of Us. They showed a piece of concept art. Even that, oh my God, this concept art? I can only imagine what this game's going to be. Well, it's a piece of concept art, and we don't know, like, what could this possibly mean? Like, who knows? If it is an open world, like they kind of alluded to it being connected, almost Division-like game in a Last of Us type world, sounds great. I'm curious to see what Naughty Dog does with that. But a lot of people seem to be, well, I guess I'm glad this was there. Otherwise, there's really nothing to talk about in this entire thing. Like, it was kind of newsworthy, but yeah, it was cringe, a word I'm using all too often.
Well, and to add more cringe, where they show that concept art and then Druckmann's kind of like, well, if you're keen eye, probably some keen eye gamers have already discovered like the location, and I'm like, it's the fucking Golden Gate Bridge, like pretty fucking iconic. I'm pretty sure everyone knows.
I thought he was being kind of joking about that one.
I couldn't tell. It's hard to say.
Yeah, there is a weird, like, if they were being self-deprecating in any way, it did not come through at all. No. It was like the least humble thing I've ever seen in a video game presentation.
The only humble thing is he actually did say who is directing the other games, which was nice. He didn't just take credit for every single game that Naughty Dog puts out. So that was a plus.
Yeah, my concern levels are high for Blue Haze right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting even that was the thing that Sony kind of gave them to put on the Summer Game Fest instead of making that part of the state of play. Like, I don't know what that says about it. Like, to me, it makes it seem like Sony doesn't think it's that big of a thing. We'll let you have this little nugget, but
it felt like just a Troy Baker thing.
Yeah, I guess it's more just about we got the people here. Like, and that's another thing actually. Like, I mean, we kind of already touched on this, but like, whenever people were actually on stage with Jeff Keighley, like the back and forth there was just so, like him just like pretending to be so hyped for everything.
The double-handed mic grab. We are so honored. Why is everyone honored? It's a fucking marketing thing. It's commercials. Why are we honored with everything to do with video games? Video games are becoming so gross.
Yeah, it's and I mean, like all the questions he asked were like just useless questions, but
yeah. I guess this is okay, let's give a letter grade, and I think this is a great segue to another show, Devolver Digital.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say D-. Does the E letter grade actually exist? I remember know. E's were a thing, but I feel E's like it goes...
F's, sure, why not?
Okay, I will give it an E+ for everyone.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I maybe a D+. I don't know. There was a few things shown that I liked, but the fact that so much stuff was cinematic trailers was rough.
I'm going with Frank. It's an E+. I was also debating if E was a thing. So
I feel like it goes straight from D to E now, but or D to F. Pardon me, but that was oof. It actually brought me to a loss for words just thinking about it. I got stumbled up like, oof. Okay. Now, Devolver Digital, they took a much different approach. They are kind of leaning into the countdown, the build-up, the hype of these types of things, which, you know, it's not amazing, but I appreciated the kind of ironic, at least comedic attempt at doing one of these presentations. Although I will admit, as I was watching it, I'm like, I like it. I like that they're doing this. I'd still just rather have trailers cut together.
Yeah, in the past, I've kind of liked some of their sketches and stuff. This one I thought was one of the more obnoxious ones. I'm not sure exactly what it was about it, but just F-bombs every second word. Oh. Like, they had that guy that was on the screen, and it was, like, stuttering all the time, and I was just like...
Suda 51?
I can't... Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah, dude, it was...
I didn't even know. Maybe I skipped over where they actually introduced him. But at some point, I was just skipping.
Wait a sec. You didn't watch this at regular speed in its entirety?
Well, I just skipped over.
Why was I making you a hero earlier in the show?
I watched the trailers regular speed, but not the sketch. But I did like. There was a part in the middle that was kind of funny that I caught where they were talking, basically, I can't remember how they phrased it, but like convergence, they were talking about the convergence or something.
Singularity.
It was like this idea, yeah, and it was like this idea that basically all games are going to be owned by one company. Like they're saying, oh, Xbox bought Bethesda again. And like, I don't know, there's some funny stuff.
There were some funny ideas in there, and I appreciated it, especially after some of the other stuff I saw, but still prefer the Nintendo Direct State of Play style. A couple of games I'll mention from there. Angerfoot, I thought looked really good. Unique idea. Card Shark, it's like this weird kind of cheating card playing game. I don't know how to play it yet, but
that was the game I was going to bring up. That was similar to that other art style.
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure.
And
better in this context, though.
I was very intrigued by this game. I don't really know what the gameplay is, but the fact that it almost looks like there's some sort of poker or like cheating element tied into the story, into the gameplay, I'm very interested in, like marking cards with like invisible ink they seem to show, and like using a mirror to like see the card that you're dealing out or like that you're holding back or whatever. Like very, very cool ideas.
Well, if you're excited, it is currently available on PC and Switch.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's out now.
And I thought Skate Story looked pretty good. I mean, for how long it was, there was only 5 games. We've heard about Cult of Lamb before, but the one I think we really need to talk about, which is in the running for the best game I've seen all week.
Oh, yeah.
It is The Plucky Squire, which, you know, is starting in this 2D book, then emerging out and going into 3D space, clearly reminding me of stuff like Nier Automata, and mixing genre and like mini gameplay events, also making me think of why can't I think of the game we live stream, Sean?
It Takes Two?
It Takes Two. Like a lot of gameplay ideas. I thought this game looked amazing.
Yeah. I must say, like, you watch the 2D part and you're like, this game looks fucking unreal. And that, like, so many gameplay ideas that they showed in that trailer, just in the 2D part. And then it jumps out of the page and it, like, the art style is just as good in 3D with, like, all the lighting and everything. And
the punch out sequence, I'm watching it again.
Yeah. Like, just so much cool stuff.
Yeah, the 3D stuff, the art style kind of looks like what was the last Zelda game that the Game Boy
Link's
one?
Awakening?
Yeah, it looked kind of like the Link's Awakening art style. But yeah, like the trailer is really interesting because as you see this book that's open and you see the pages and it's like kind of sitting on a table and you see the character moving around on it. And as I was watching, I was like, is this the game or is this just the trailer? Like I couldn't tell.
I thought
it was hard to tell.
And then when he jumps off the page, you're like, oh shit, this is the game. Like that's pretty impressive.
This game looks fucking awesome. I cannot wait for this game.
Now, how did this game get no placement in any of the other shows? Everyone should be like dying to have this show.
I assume it's because Devolver Digital wants it to like kind of be the thing everyone's talking about in their show, but are people talking about this game? Because
I don't think so.
Hey man, Jay messaged us and said it's the next big thing. So if he knows about it,
did he really?
Must be talking about it. Yeah.
When did he send that?
I don't know. I think on Friday.
Oh, I thought Huck sent that.
I don't think so. Did you, Huck?
I sent something about it. Yes.
You asked if we had seen it before, but I'm pretty sure. Let me just confirm here. Yeah, Jay, the Plucky Squire's the next big thing.
Oh yeah, he did. I apologize.
Boy, it is the next big thing.
I forgot even. I think I just skipped over it. Like I don't.
Did it have a release date?
2023.
Yeah,
2023. It is. It looks real good. And then the Skate Story game, I thought it had a cool art style, but I don't know the like camera angles and stuff. I wasn't sure what this game was going to play like. Probably not for me. It's like kind of sort of like stylized Tony Hawk, but less tricks, less combos.
Yeah.
Looks. I can't really tell what the game is. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going long. I don't think we're going to give letter grades to that one. Let's get to
A+. Scott Plucky. A+. I didn't even watch it. I only watched
I would give it a B+.
I mean, it's probably like, I don't know, B-. Like the stuff they showed was good. There just wasn't a ton of stuff.
Games. Okay, so let's get to Day of the Devs. Sean, you know me. Huck, I don't think you know this much about me in terms of how I react to things that are popular or cliches. But, and the listeners know me, I would hate to say what I'm about to say. I don't want to be that guy. But all of the interesting things I saw were from indie developers at Day of the Devs. Like, I would hate when it's like, I only want the indie games are the ones that look cool. I don't care about the big AAA games. And I'm like, fuck you. The AAA games look awesome. But
Have you heard of the Blue Haze? Have you heard of the Blue Haze?
It is the case this year that all of the best stuff for me was at Day of the Devs. And an emerging genre in this is the organization genre, which we started with unpacking.
I highlighted that one right away. I was like, Frank's going to love this one.
A little to the left might be my most anticipated game from this whole week. And not just because it's like organizing things. I thought the art style was amazing. The puzzles within it looked fantastic. And like the daily calendar structure, like how you get new tasks, this game looks amazing.
But I mean, Frank, it's got some cat humor in it.
Believe me, I know. But I'm looking past it. Everything else about it, I loved. time flies.
Yeah, time flies looked real good.
Like even the motion of the fly. Like it's a game about how close we are to dying. It's everything I want in a video game.
And what a great analogy, eh? Like using the lifespan of a fly, which is very short, to kind of like be an analogy for our lifespan is awesome.
The exploration looked amazing, like how you can go in up to a light and then the way it zooms, the fly paper. This led off the show and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously still like a little hard to tell exactly how the game works, but I felt like maybe Untitled Goose Game it reminded me a bit of, because it had like that checklist, and I feel like it's like you kind of just explore and try to figure out how to cross things off that list. So
I have a feeling this game's going to be like half an hour long, but it's going to be well worth the $10 or whatever they charge for it. I
think gameplay isn't exactly the same, but I think Untitled Goose Game is a good comparison in terms of length and structure. Planet of Lana, which we had heard about before, this looked even better than I remembered. Beautifully presented, playing with foreground elements, something I don't think happens enough in games, like the 2D art style. The part where those huge mechs are walking and you're going between the legs of them almost felt like a game version of the cutscenes at the beginning of Ori and the Blind Forest. Looked really, really good. Even like a game that I normally wouldn't care that much about, like Choo Choo Charlie, was kind of neat.
And again, Charles.
Choo Choo Charles. I actually have that written. Choo Choo Charles. And a lot of like 1-person or 2-person development teams in this, which I thought was insanely impressive. How good these games look for extremely small development teams. Like we don't know how much contracting or other stuff is going on, but that's really neat how they focused on this stuff. I'm just going to say one more game that I thought looked great, and then you guys can talk about some. Animal Well felt like a game right up my alley, like teasing a Metroid-like game with kind of this accelerated
like
pixel graphics format with all these creatures. This when the ghost gets kind of pulled along of that big cat or whatever. I don't know. I thought this looked. And just the way that the creator presented it, very interesting. All of them, I will say, across the board. Like the Day of the Devs, the way they approach like kind of a comedy but personal way of presenting what they're working on, so much better than the other ones.
Yeah.
Definitely give Fez vibes for Animal Well.
Yeah, this one was definitely a highlight for me as well. You know what the art style reminded me of is... Do you remember Nintendo Land on the Wii U? They would have kind of like the artwork for each mini game was kind of like in these, I don't know how to describe it, but like kind of like pixelated, but it looked like it was almost like crochet or something. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's kind of like everything's squares, but they kind of like have a bit of depth to them and kind of pop out. I don't know. It just reminded me of that, where like the pixels are like these big fat pixels, and the color scheme is just like amazing. So yeah, I'm just kind of Metroid style game with a lot of exploration and puzzle stuff. I mean, I'm definitely in on that.
The only other game that really stood out for me, I think, was Roots of Pacha, which is kind of like, it kind of gave me like Stardew Valley kind of vibes, but it was kind of set in the Stone Age, it seemed. It was kind of like a city builder farming sim. So that was kind of interesting. After playing like, I don't know, some insane amount of Stardew Valley.
That was probably the one I was the least interested in, but probably a bit more about genre than quality of the game.
Yeah, I guess other stuff. I mean, Escape Academy, we've seen other places already. It's coming out pretty soon, I think, on Game Pass, but I'm kind of looking forward to that.
That was probably my least favorite of Day of the Devs.
Fair enough.
No, just like it felt really long, and I kind of got what it was. Like you hear it's a escape room game.
Yeah, I mean, didn't need to say much more than that, really, but that Shim or Skim game you mentioned before, Frank, I thought that looked really interesting. Like just this kind of playing as like a shadow or something, and you kind of are jumping between like shadows of other objects. I don't know, just very unique. Looked pretty cool. Goodbye World looked kind of interesting. It was like, I don't know if it's a platformer or exactly what the genre is. It seemed like there's like kind of like the story is about a pair of game developers, I think, like indie game developers. And I think there's like mini games within that of like them trying to build games that you're kind of playing prototypes that they're working on or something. But it was one of these games that had that sort of CRT kind of
video filter.
Yeah. But I thought it looked cool. Yeah, but I mean, pretty much everything.
I thought Naiad looked good. That was the like kind of you're floating. It's almost like Knights on a 2D
Really?
plane. Yeah, I like Naiad. And Birth I thought looked really good too. I didn't know exactly what the game was, but all the creatures had this art style where the eyes were kind of cut out. I thought it looked really good.
That was a weird one. It's like it's like I'm lonely, so I'm gonna make a friend out of a dead body parts. Like what?
I looked up Birth game, and I went to images. This game did not show up. It's like the weirdest like baby delivery like iPhone games. If you want a bit of a giggle, look up Birth game images on Google.
If you search in Steam, it comes up.
Okay. But I thought it looked good. Anyway, Day of the Devs crushed it. I usually am like, okay, Day of the Devs, but compared to everything else this year, it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think we need to go into any of this other stuff. Maybe we can touch on some stuff next week, but just for people who don't know, there's several other kind of indie showcases. There's the Guerrilla Collective one. There's Future Games. There's one called Wholesome Direct, which is kind of like more, I guess, family-oriented or cartoony games, but there's some good stuff in there. There's the PC Gaming Show, which had a few bigger, maybe not AAA, but close to AAA type things. And I feel like there was one other, but...
Did you say Future of Play?
Future of Play. I don't think I watched
Guerrilla
that one.
Collective. I watched one called the Guerrilla
Yeah, I said that
Collective.
one. Oh, the
Did you say
Tribeca one.
Epic
that you
Store?
mentioned.
Tribeca?
There was an Epic one? No, didn't watch that.
Yeah, Epic Store had one. The Epic Store one was not that... Nothing really to write home about. I don't think there's anything special about it.
There was the Netflix one, where they announced Queen's Gambit Chess for iOS, so that's pretty huge.
Huge.
Actually, there was one game that I saw at that was kind of cool from the creator of Downwell. I can't remember what that was called, but it looked kind of cool.
At the Tribeca one, they showed a little more about that Immortality game, which is the new Sam Barlow game. There's like the 3 videos, and it's like about that actress and how she disappeared, but none of the movies came out. She finished 3 movies, but none of them came out. And they explain more about how you play. So in her story and Telling Lies, you kind of type into a police computer keywords, and then it shows you the first kind of like 5 results that show up, and you get to click on video clips based on that. And in this one, instead of typing in a computer, you actually pause the video and then click on an object in the scene, and then that will take you to a different scene depending on what you clicked on. So if you clicked on a person, it will take you to another video with that person in it. If you click on like a photograph, it'll take you to like a video where that photograph was either taken or like something else related to that photograph. So instead of like Google word search, you're now doing like Google image search to play the game, which I thought was a nice evolutionary step in that genre that he's trying to make.
I really need to try a Sam Barlow game.
You've not played Her Story?
No.
Yeah, you should play Her Story. It's good.
I should.
Yes.
All right. Any other games we need to touch on or trends? I think we've covered it all.
Yeah, I have a list of a few other things from those smaller ones that stood out to me, but I can mention them next week. Actually, I kind of want to try out some of the demos too.
Yeah, I was going to say, are there demos coming out? Have they announced them all? Is there a portal for that stuff? Or
I think
I just checked Steam.
Steam Next Fest. I think it starts on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
But some of them, the demos are already out, so you just got to look.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up. There are more videos or presentations coming on Monday, Tuesday, Capcom, Final Fantasy VII, so we'll definitely have some stuff to talk about next week. I'm surprised there hasn't been a Nintendo thing at all. I don't know if that's coming or they're going to announce it this week or next week, but there'll be
I'm sure they're just going to stick to their normal direct, like Nintendo Direct end of the month or every other month or whatever schedule.
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be stuff to talk about next week. Overall, not a great year for announcements and news. And I don't know, not a lot coming out this year either. So thank God for indie games coming out over the next little while. But you can check us out on youtube.com/GameJunk. If we let us know how you felt about the Last of Us presentation. Am I way off base here? Was it truly a life-changing moment? And of course, June is Last of Us month. Everyone knows that. So we shall... we'll see if there's any other big news. No games this week, right? No big releases. There was the Mario Super Strikers game that came out on Friday, but...
Yeah, I think that's... Well, Shredder's Revenge this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Thursday, right? I think.
Talking about
16th,
that. Yeah, that'll be good. All right, so youtube.com/GameJunk. Check it out, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.